Hey, New Life fam, happy Friday. I want to take just a few minutes with my notes to give everyone some very important updates because there's a lot happening right now and some of it is moving very quickly. First, I just want to say thank you. The response to the Generosity Initiative has been incredibly encouraging. We have already exceeded the one-time upfront goal that we put in front of you, and a strong number of households have already responded towards the monthly increase that we need for this next season of ministry. And it is not too late for you to participate in one or both of those opportunities. Every dollar is needed. Every dollar is going to make a difference. And this part, I really need you to hear. This is very important. If you are an individual or a family who made a commitment, just remember that we asked everyone to follow through with the commitment by the end of August. And the end of August happens to be next Monday. So like 3 days from now. This is especially important for the one-time gifts because we're planning to sign the lease next week, which means putting those resources to work immediately. So we need to have those available. So again, thank you. This has been one of those extra special seasons in the life of our church because it has just reminded me that when God puts something in front of us, this church really knows how to step up. So this has been awesome. Now, a quick update on the move itself. We learned just this past week that the sanctuary has been committed to a theater group through October 11th. Now, this is not what we originally understood, but not having any assurances as to how our vote was going to go while he was waiting for a final decision, he got approached with this opportunity. The building owner decided to make this commitment because it generated some for sure income for him and revenue while he waited on us. And yes, this creates a little wrinkle in our original timeline. But the good news is that the most involved amount of work we need to do is actually in children's spaces, especially the big one that's going to be sanctuary, lobby, that large children's space that we're going to divide up. And assuming the lease is signed, we can begin work in that area as early as like this next weekend. And also our hope is to be able to begin work in the lobby as well, but we need to have a conversation with the theater group. And so after talking and praying through a number of options, the direction we believe makes the most sense is to slow the move timeline down just a little bit rather than try to force things. So right now, here is our working plan. We continue meeting at the Metroplex through the last weekend of October. We use those weeks to get especially the large kids area as completely ready and as much of the lobby done as possible as well. Then, beginning October 12th, we can hit the sanctuary work hard. The plan would be for us to have no regular service then the last Sunday of October, October 25th, so that weekend can be used for moving any remaining equipment and getting the building as ready as possible. Then the following Saturday, October 31st, our hope, if we have the capacity for it, is to have a community outreach event that especially connects us with the preschool families that are connected to the preschool that we're going to share the building with, as well as the neighbors around us and around that building. And then the next morning, November 1st, for sure, would be our first official Sunday, first official service in the new building. Now, could some of those details move? Absolutely. In fact, let's just expect it. And that way, if it doesn't happen, we can be like, this is awesome. If it does happen, be like, we're going to receive this as from the hand of God and he's got a plan. We're going to roll with it because this all involves construction and landlords and schedules and theater groups and painting and cleanup and securing equipment, placing equipment, volunteers. So there are a lot of moving parts to this, but that is the direction that we're planning around right now, which brings me to the next thing. As we've communicated from the very beginning, this is one of those amazing all hands on deck seasons. There's something for everyone, and we are going to need everyone at various points in this process. We are building out a detailed project schedule right now, and we'll get that in front of you as quickly as we can. But in the meantime, as much as you can, go ahead and pencil out as many Saturdays as possible between now and the end of October and block those out because most work days and times will be on Saturdays, though there will be some weekday evening opportunities as well. And we know not everyone can paint, not everyone can build, not everyone can lift heavy things. That's fine, but there is going to be something for everyone, plenty of fun ways to help, some maybe not so fun, but we'll be in it together. And I want to address one other important piece as clearly as I can, because especially over this last week, the feeling is that people have heard bits and pieces of this and without any context or backstory and got to the what before the why. But our plan, which we've talked about, is to finally move forward with a change in church name and in branding. And again, this is definitely not a brand new conversation for leadership. We've actually been talking about this for a few years now. One of the big reasons, among many great reasons, is between churches and businesses, there are now 7 New Lifes in Wichita and in our city. And so for that and several other important reasons, this is something I've actually talked about from stage and in our pre-service team meetings from time to time over the last few years. And we have talked and we've prayed about this in different settings for years. And with the physical move now happening, this honestly is the most logical and strategic time to do it because they're already making changes. And just so you know, because for some of you, you're extreme processors, this feels like so much so quickly. But just so you know, there are practical reasons as well. One of which is that our lease requires exterior signage within 60 days. And it would make very little sense. And frankly, it would be really poor use of kingdom resources to spend money on signage for a name that we already know that we plan to change shortly afterwards. And branding affects paint and signage and print materials and digital pieces and a whole bunch of smaller decisions that we have to begin making now. And we've got a timeline. Now, we will continue to get appropriate input. We will keep our servant team especially, but really everyone looped in as much as we reasonably can. But I want to be transparent and acknowledge that the final decision will be made by a relatively small number of leaders. And that is not because your voice doesn't matter or other voices don't matter. That's not it at all. But it's because this type of decision has to weigh mission, theology, community presence, community perception, long-term strategy, design, legal availability, signage, digital presence, and about 50 other things all at the same time. And no matter what name, we just have to acknowledge, no matter what name or design or logo or branding is ultimately chosen, here's the bottom line. There's probably going to be 20% or more people that just love it immediately. There's going to be about 20% or more that just hate it or don't like it. And then there's going to be the majority that are somewhere in the middle, and they're just going to have to warm up to it. But the truth is, this is just to be normal and expected. The bigger question has never been, will every person think this is the best church name ever? The bigger questions are, does this fit who we are? Does it serve where we believe God is taking us? If I invite an unchurched friend or coworker, does the name create unnecessary barriers before they ever walk through the door? Because in the end, people are not going to stay at a church because of a logo on a wall or sign or a website. They're going to stay and engage because of what they experience when they walk through the doors. Jesus, grace, truth, authentic community, belonging, relationship, and hopefully mission. And that is probably the most important thing that I want to leave with you. These next couple months have the potential to be a really, really special season in the life of our church. We are going to work hard to communicate well. We are going to make the best decisions that we can. We are going to seek counsel and pray and listen and adjust when needed. And we're going to work to steward every dollar and every decision wisely. But this also needs to be a season where every single one of us takes our prayer life up to the next level, if not higher. Because anytime a church is moving, changing, sacrificing, building, moving forward, trying to reach more people, there are also 100 opportunities for frustration and misunderstanding and jealousy, criticism, gossip, division, for all of that to sneak in. And we simply cannot give the enemy that ground, not even a toe. We are a Jesus family on a Jesus mission. We do not have to agree on every decision. We do not have to personally love every paint color, every timeline choice, every logo, every name, every detail, but how we disagree, how we talk to one another, how we talk about one another, how much grace we give one another. That is what matters. That matters enormously. There are a number of people right now who are giving an extraordinary amount of time and mental energy and prayer to this, most of it completely behind the scenes, because they love Jesus and they love this church. So let's be people who every single time, if it's something we don't understand, we don't agree with, whatever, every single time, let us be people who assume the best. Ask questions directly. Pray hard. Work hard. Laugh a lot. And let's give each other extra grace and keep our eyes on the ball as to why we are doing all of this in the first place. We want to create the healthiest possible place for people to connect to Jesus, connect with one another, and to join Jesus in his mission. And I believe that the best chapters of our church and our story are still ahead of us. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this. I cannot wait to see what God does in and through us together over these next couple of months and the months to follow and the years to follow. It's going to be awesome.